All righty. Again, welcome. My name is Scott Kelly. I'm with Black Dog Venture Partners, and I'm excited to introduce our friends at ShopRaise, who I think have a phenomenal program to help companies, help people, and do good all at the same time. And I'm excited. We've got Gary and Rebecca on the team. They'll be handling some Q&As as we go. But I'm going to give the mic and the control to Sean from ShopRaise. Sean, you take it over, and we'll have some Q&A at the end. Welcome, Sean.
Oh, thank you so much. I really appreciate it, Scott. Thanks again to Black Dog, and we're really excited to talk to you about workplace giving, and the new product that we're actually rolling out here. So let me just share my screen. We'll get started, and here we go. So we're basically welcome again. We're basically ShopRaise Workplace Giving. What we do is engagement through impact. And we are a program that is for companies who want to not only improve their engagement, but also do good at the same time. Obviously, the title of our webinar is all about charitable giving as an employee benefit, and that's really how we're actually distributing our product here today. So I always like starting every single webinar just talking about the state of the industry a little bit, kind of what challenges everyone is facing, and how does ShopRaise and how do companies actually approach kind of these challenges? Like, why are people doing this? All of that type of stuff. Right now, in the insurance industry, with the benefits industry, we are seeing somewhere between 5 and 10% increase in costs every single year, and that's been going on for the last at least 5, 6 years. That is now driving everything in the industry. A few years ago, during the pandemic, a lot of companies were looking at, how do I retain talent? How do I increase all the number of benefits that I have, so that way I can keep as many people and the quality people that I have? Now it's kind of flipped. We want to maintain all of those great benefits we have, but cost is now becoming the deciding factor. So, the other thing I also just wanted to tell you, talk a little bit about, is like, ask the question is, why do companies actually do these types of engagement benefits, these giving benefits, whether it's workplace giving, recognition programs, rewards? Well, it all comes down to building a community and, building culture, getting your employees engaged just beyond the daily kind of grind of what they do. And there are real financial benefits to these programs. A lot of people think, oh, it's workplace giving. I'm just checking off my CSR box. I'm checking off my donation box. And the answer is that's actually not the case. If you're an HR leader and you have to present a program like ShopRaise to your CFO or to your CEO and put together an actual business case for it, it all comes down to three major elements. The first one is about turnover. Engagement programs, workplace giving programs, do help reduce turnover. A lot of times as a company, we can't necessarily reward the employees the way that we want to. Maybe our budgets are tight, or we just don't have the structure to be able to do that. By adding a workplace engagement program, you can keep people engaged, get the community involved in something collectively, and build that culture. There are many, many examples, and this is especially true in the nonprofit The second one is productivity. Obviously, engaged employers are a lot more productive. They're willing to put in the extra hours, but they're also more willing to work together as a team. And the final one is really about reduced absenteeism. Again, if you like going to your job, if you feel you have a purpose, you are more willing and more likely to come into work. Hopefully, all your employees are coming into work every single day, but having a great culture is really part of it. Now, the one thing I will say, because we're all about providing both sides of the coin. Programs like engagement programs and recognition programs, a lot of times they're a reflection of a culture you already have. Now, companies do use these programs. If they don't have the right culture, they will use programs like ShopRaise Workplace Giving to start building the culture that they want. But a lot of times what you'll see is, again, that these programs are a reflection of that culture that already exists. And it's a reinforcement of the values that the management, the ownership, and the employees hold collectively. So one of the biggest challenges with these types of programs actually comes down to participation, especially if you look at workplace giving. And when we talk about workplace giving, we're talking about things like payroll deductions. We're talking about volunteering. We're talking about events, donation events, things like that. And a lot of times you'll see these programs struggle to maintain participation, and they'll have participation even below things like 10%. And the primary reason is really two things. we ask employees to give their extra time and their extra money. Now, that's all good if you have a lot of money and you have a lot of time and everything's going well. Then taking that weekend and doing a volunteering opportunity is something that you're able to do. If you have a really good income and you're financially stable, making that extra donation, doing that payroll deduction is something that's really easy to do. But a lot of times, and especially in this marketplace, employees don't have that extra time. They don't have that extra money. And that actually creates kind of a culture of haves and have-nots. And that's the worst thing you could do in any type of engagement or giving program. If you have the money, you participate. If you don't have the money, you don't. Well, what if I want to participate, but I actually don't have the money? And of course, that's where ShopRaise kind of comes in. Now, traditional programs have basically 5 things, and we'll go through these and just explain a little bit about how they work. They typically have low engagement. They have a high administrative burden, a high cost of ownership, and of course, limited accessibility. So let's start with employee engagement. When you look at specifically workplace giving programs, traditional ones, you're looking at only somewhere between 5 and 7 engagement points per year. Now, first of all, why is engagement important? Well, engagement is the entire point of the program. Even if you're at a workplace giving program and you're trying to raise a certain amount of money for donations, if you kind of think about it, the donation part is obviously very important. We want to do good in the world. If a company is doing an event, they want to reach their goal. But the ultimate goal is getting the community involved and getting your employees involved in something collectively together, building that team and building that culture. So engagement is actually one of the most important factors that you want to look at. And engagement is a direct reflection of the different features and different opportunities that you provide. So if we look at traditional workplace giving, like I said, you have things like payroll deductions. Okay, payroll deductions is something you do at the beginning, right after open enrollment, at the beginning of the year. That's one engagement. From then on, it's just a lower paycheck that you get. Now, you might be reminded with a nice little email or a little line item on your payroll saying, hey, you gave, $20 to a local, animal shelter or food bank. But that's the last engagement that you basically get. When you think about volunteering, even if you are an enthusiastic a person who wants to do volunteering, you're only going to be able to do that a couple times a year. Now, those are high quality engagements, but again, it's not something that you can do on a very frequent basis because even somebody who has the time and has a lot of motivation isn't going to be able to do it every single weekend or even every single month. You also can look at things like, again, matching campaigns. If you're going to make a donation, it might be towards the end of the year. It might be on Giving Tuesday. It might be during a particular month, like Cancer Awareness Month. But you're going to be doing that at a one or two times per year. And if the company provides matching, that's fantastic. But again, we're only looking at a few engagement points. So, when we look at these types of programs, they're actually low engagement programs. And remember, if we want those benefits we just talked about, we need to have high engagement in order to make that happen. The second factor we want to take a look at are things like HR, administrative overhead, and HR lift. Now, these are all kind of the hidden costs of any program that you have. Typically, you're going to have like a platform fee, things like that. But how much time an HR person or individuals in the company are spending really affects the overall cost of the program and how expensive it is and how much time it's going to take to maintain that program. So we can look at, workplace giving. Again, when you think about workplace giving, we're thinking about, payroll deductions. That means we got to get the finance team involved. If something goes wrong, maybe is it qualified? Is it not qualified for a deduction? Those are decisions that somebody in your company is going to have to make. And that's time and effort that people are going to have to put into the program. If you take a look at recognition programs, maybe you're tracking points, maybe you're rewarding people. All your managers have to get involved. Maybe you do peer-to-peer rewarding where you can just recognize, do a quick shout out, something like that with a few points or with a quick gift card. That means more and more people are involved. Not saying that these programs are bad, but these are considerations that you have to look at. How much time are you actually going to be spending managing the program? You also have the marketing and promotion of the program in the first place. Just because you have a program doesn't mean people are going to use it. So, all the time and effort that you're putting together, either the marketing materials, sending it out to your employees, answering any questions that they might have, are all things that actually go into how much time that you spend. The third challenge really comes down to, again, the program cost itself. Now, a lot of times programs are going to market their platform fee. And again, depending on what type of program you're looking at, you can look at things like workplace giving, where they might have a per employee per month platform fee. You might that might be $3 to $5 a month, might even be 1 to 2 for recognition programs or survey programs. Any of the type of engagement or impact programs that are out there are going to have some fee to participate. Now, some of them have minimum fees, which means that smaller companies are basically locked out. There's a couple programs out there that'll have a minimum of $3, $4, $5,000 annually. So if you're a company below 50 employees, it's basically way too expensive for you to implement in your organization. But that's actually where it's just getting started. So if we take a look at the two kind of primary programs that are out there, workplace giving and recognition programs, the additional costs are what actually make the program. So for workplace giving, what are those costs? Those are things like matching. Those could be volunteer grants. A lot of times when you're volunteering, you are going to do like dollars for doers. So you're going to pay the employee instead of making them take an unpaid day off. You're actually paying the employee to do the volunteering. Some of it might actually have to pay the nonprofit. We have a lot of experience with nonprofits, and it's very expensive for them to bring in a team and do a volunteering day where it's meaningful to that group. So a lot of times they'll charge a fee for that. If you're looking at recognition programs, you're dealing with things like the actual recognition budget. And a lot of times that'll go anywhere from $7 to $15 per employee per month. So when you look at the overall total cost of these programs, it's not just that platform fee, it's the overall cost. You might be looking at a program that instead of being $20 or $30 annually, might be hundreds of dollars per employee every single year. Now, in the past, that wasn't as big a deal. Like I said, in 2020, companies were willing to pay these extra fees in order to engage their employees, engage their remote employees, and keep those employees working at their company. Unfortunately, right now, because of the rising cost of insurance, a lot of these programs are becoming unsustainable. Now, the other thing that we also look at is how do we attract and retain talent? And this really comes down to really kind of two things. The biggest one is actually going to be attracting new talent, and especially younger generations are looking for companies that they believe in. In the past, people would say, I'm just going to get a job. It's in my expertise. I don't necessarily have to love the product that I'm selling or love the product that I'm working on. Hopefully you do, but it's a job and they'll do it. Gen Z has been proven that they will decline really good offers for companies that they just don't believe in. They don't want to work for companies that don't match their values. And, being able to have programs like ShopRaise Workplace Giving and like recognition programs are things that will attract, these younger employees. It shows that you have a good values alignment. It helps, generate purpose and culture in your organization. A lot of these Gen Z employees, since they grew up or were affected a little more by COVID and our lockdown, they're looking for that connection. They want to feel like they're part of a team and they're doing something good. And of course, that all builds up that deeper engagement, which is, again, what we're all looking for. So these are some of the really big challenges that these organizations are actually looking at when they're trying to, balance out the overall cost of their benefits program with the benefits that they're actually offering. So let me tell you about how ShopRaise solves these problems. The first thing is that, we call ourselves ShopRaise Workplace Giving. It actually is an offshoot of our company ShopRaise, where we help individuals raise money for nonprofits and causes that they care about by using everyday shopping. And what we're doing is we're providing year-round, and for companies, we provide year-round employee engagement, and we turn that everyday shopping into that support in dollars for the causes that the employees really care about. Now, this is basically how it works, but I have to tell you, one of the biggest benefits of what ShopRaise can do is that we don't cost any extra time or any extra money to the employee. So when you think about those two challenges that really caused the low engagement point that we first talked about, it was all about asking employees to spend their extra time and spend their extra money. Well, if even employees who don't have a lot of extra, maybe some disposable budget, or if they don't have any extra time, maybe they have a lot of kids and they have after school programs, so they can't necessarily just do a half day volunteering or anything like that. ShopRaise allows you to take advantage of all the shopping that you're doing every single day. Everybody's buying from Amazon, everybody's buying from Walmart, everybody buys groceries, and we turn those opportunities into funds for the cause. And then in turn, we turn that engagement into that benefit for that organization, for that company. And it's really simple on how it works. People sign up and they're able to download our ShopRaise mobile app and desktop. Now, I know everybody doesn't like apps or like, I don't need another app. I totally understand. That's not how this app works. Once you download it, we automatically present opportunities at participating retailers. So that means if you get the browser extension, you can go right to walmart.com or right to amazon.com. You don't have to come to ShopRaise to make it happen. On our mobile app, we have we have a similar type of program. We're just about to add geo alerts, which will, if you want to, the employees have total control. You can actually go to participating retailers and we'll notify you that you can actually pay with a gift card. Right now, we have over 2,500 participating retailers, over 300 gift cards. We also have over 5,000 coupons and deals. And at the end of the day, we don't want our employees to have to make the decision between getting a discount and making an impact. And that's really where we shine. And of course, a portion of each purchase is automatically donated to the cause, and that's all funded by the retailers. So that means from an organizational perspective, you don't have to pay any money to make those donations. And from an employee perspective, you don't have to pull money out of your pocket to make those donations. And this entire concept is something we've been building for a while called Shopping with Purpose, where again, everyday spending becomes that continuous employee engagement. As I said, these are some of the retailers that we have. We have everything from your grocery stores to places like Amazon to all the way up to Bass Pro Shop, Lowe's, all the way up to Gucci, Prada, and everywhere in between. Now, these are some of the things that when we were building our program, we said, why does ShopRaise, how can we make this as easy and accessible as possible, not only to the employees, but also to the organizations that use us? Now, we have over 10 years of experience working with thousands of companies and nonprofits. And we've been using our program in the nonprofit space for that time. And as we brought it to the corporate benefits marketplace, we wanted to add a few more features that would make it really easy. First of all, there are no deductions, donations, or volunteering. So if you're an HR professional, one of the worst things that you could do is say, I'd love to start my program. And then they say, oh, it's going to take us 3 to 6 weeks in order to get everything engaged. That's it. That's, involving your HRIS program. Maybe you're going to be involved in payroll if you're doing deductions, things like that. So we don't have to worry about tracking any, very little compliance. And again, like I said, integrations are entirely optional. Employees don't have to pay more for the goods that they buy, and the donations are funded by those participating retailers, not the employees or the company. We're able to launch in minutes, and you're able to maintain it effortlessly. So this is truly a turnkey program. A lot of people use turnkey as just a marketing slogan. We built our program so literally you can go in, we can set it up for you. We handle all the customization. We handle all of the setup. We provide you with customized marketing materials. So literally you can get started very quickly. And then every single month in terms of maintaining it, you're just helping engage some of the employees, making sure that they're using it, remind employees who haven't started yet. That's basically it. The employees, if you want, as a company, the employees can choose the cause that they care about. Now, when I talk to organizations, I basically give them 3 options. One is you can choose one cause. I don't recommend it. 2 is you can choose a small list of causes, or 3, you can choose, all the causes that we have in our database. And I recommend that because today, in today's age, if you want people to be engaged, if you choose a cause for somebody else and they don't like it, they're not going to do it. So for example, you might say, great, I love the American Cancer Association, or the American Heart Association. But if that's not really important to me, maybe I want to support an animal cause, or maybe I want to support my child's school. I'm going to be a lot more engaged if that's an option as an employee, if I can take that. And we want to provide that flexibility for the companies and for the employees to be as engaged and emotionally connected to the causes as much as possible. Now, the other thing, especially again, since the pandemic, we have a lot more remote workforce. And when you're looking at traditional programs, especially when it comes down to volunteering or group activities, it's very, very difficult to get everybody involved. You might have people at your home office, but you might have some remote workers around the country. And if you do a volunteering or physical event, it's very difficult for them to participate. So what we have with our program is basically it works all around the country. Everyone can participate. Whether you're in the office, you're a hybrid, have a hybrid situation, or you're remote, everybody can basically do it. Now, we also help you launch and manage your program. We provide all the tools that you need in order to seamlessly basically integrate your workplace giving into your cultural efforts. We have what we call our brand forward experience, and that comes with basically two things. The first is we want to put your company, your brand forward. It's your program, your workers. We want them to know that this is something that you're putting on and that you're sharing your employees' values. The second thing is we also put the causes brand forward. That's that emotional connection that employees are looking for. If it's their child's school, every time they see that logo, they're going to think warm thoughts. They're going to be more likely to participate. We also have, again, any seamless integrations. Like if you want to automate your employee list, we can do that. That's one of the biggest requests that any program has, and especially as an HR manager, it's just kind of tedious. If you have employees coming and going every single month, you don't want to have to go into multiple programs and remove employees or add employees to the different programs. So we're able to automate that, but again, that's entirely optional. We also allow you to measure impact and participation. That's obviously the biggest thing. You have full access to know what's going on in your program, how well it's working, and we provide you with the support that you need in order to optimize it and maximize your results. Now, just a couple things about privacy because we know that's a big deal. As an employee, you get to see all of your transactions, so you can audit everything as an individual. As a company, you get to see the aggregate results of an employee. So that way you can't see where they purchased. So the employee can feel comfortable. They can buy what they want, where they want without the employer actually knowing. And you as an employer can make sure that, hey, are people actually participating? Is this program working? And as I come back down the turnkey solution, we manage all the retail partnerships, all the technology, all the support, so you don't have to basically do anything. When it comes to measuring your results, like I said, we have all the major metrics, the biggest one being your activation rate, how many interactions you have per week. Now, just to give you a couple data points, we average between, over 4 interactions per week. We have between typically a 35 to 70% participation rate. That's the number of people that activate and start using our program. And employees are able to raise hundreds of dollars every single year just through their everyday shopping. Now, the one thing I will tell people is that we don't, we're not a donation platform. If you want to raise the most money, that's the direction I would go. When it comes to ShopRaise, we're more like recycling. It's something you can do every single day. It's a little impact every time, but it adds up to something big, over time. And that's how I kind of look at that. So even though we're talking about how we're a little bit better than some of the other programs, we can work right alongside those programs as an additional feature set. Like I said, we've also automated several things. We've automated as much as we possibly can during setup. We handle it. We also have Slack integrations, Microsoft Teams integrations. So that way, if you want to, automate some of the outbound communication, some of the onboarding, we can do that as well. And of course, once an employee signs up, you don't have to worry about any communications with the employee. We'll remind them about discounts. They'll be able to add favorites to their organization, to their interface. So that way, they have a nice customized experience, and we handle all of the coupons, deals, and everything like that to give them the best experience possible. Now, here's a couple ways that we actually are better than some of those other organizations out there. When it comes down to engagement, because we're engaging people 4 or more times per week, we literally have an order of magnitude more, actually multiple orders of magnitude more engagement than our competition. You can see, 200, 300 times more engagement. Now, that's not just transactions. We typically see between 3 and 6 transactions every single month. But as you're going and you're shopping, you're seeing those opportunities appear in front of you. You might get a push notification when you're in a store. You might see a little pop-up when you're on a website. So that keeps the program top of mind, and then gives people that choice every single time that they can participate and engage. And if you can click a button or you can get a gift card, you can participate. The other thing really, again, comes down to how our program is managed. We're redefining engagement, and that goes back to how much extra time you have to take and your company has to take to manage the program. Like we said, you can set it up within about 15 minutes. A lot of programs take weeks to months. You can spend as little as 30 minutes a month in order to manage your program versus 2 to 5 hours per week on traditional programs. So, and of course, our biggest thing is, since it's no cost to the employee, it is an easy program for employees to participate in. Now, the last thing comes down to actual costs. And this is, again, also where we shine. We obviously do have a platform fee. It's $2 per employee per month, but that is all in. That is the most that you will pay. We don't have any hidden fees. Retailers are the ones that are paying the contributions to the charities. So that means that the employee doesn't have to. You don't have any hidden costs or anything like that. And when you take a look at the comparison between our competition and what we offer, we are one of the most affordable options to bring engagement to any organization, or as an affordable add-on if you already have your own workplace giving program or recognition program. Now, just to kind of give you an example, because sometimes when you look at the per employee per month cost, you're not quite sure what that means. We also got to look at things like the return on investment. That's a big deal, especially for your CFO and for your board. We want to make sure we're actually, getting a return. Now, there's a lot of ways to look at the return. But for us, we're looking at how much money we can help save the organization. We can also look at how much money we're donating to the cause, and also how much engagement you're taking. But if you look at how much money you actually get to save in your organization, if you take just an ordinary 100 employee organization, an average $100,000 worker would cost somewhere between $75,000 and $125,000 to replace. So the way that we look at it is we say, if we can help you save just one employee, you already have an absolutely massive return on your investment. Now, our competitors, when you look at that, you might sit there and it's going to be about 10 times more that you're going to be, paying just from a subscription fee. But if you are able to get ShopRaise in your 100-person organization, you could get up to a 52 times return on your investment and have an all-in cost of only $2,400. And what that means is that companies, you as an organization, can see reduced turnover, productivity gains for one of the most affordable prices that we have out there, which allows you as an HR team to meet your CSR goals without like breaking the limited budgets that you might have. So that's basically it. I just wanted to, thank you so much for letting me present today. We have an absolutely fantastic program. If you'd like to learn more about what we do, about our opportunity that we have, you can definitely contact us here. You can look at our website, wpgiving.shopraise.com. And we're extremely excited to bring this brand new product to the industry. We know a lot of people are looking for new ways to engage, but ShopRaise is absolutely one of the best opportunities out there if you're looking for something to get the highest engagement for the most affordable price. So thanks again, and I think we'll open it up to any questions that people might have. Be happy to hang around as long as you want to answer those questions.
Great. Thanks for that, Sean. And yeah, if you have a question, you can either use the raise hand function or you can post the question in chat. So, Sean, I have a question in terms of how does someone get the ShopRaise program? And what I mean by that, you obviously have relationships with HR companies and PEOs. If you're an employee of an organization and you want this program in your business, what's the best way to get that to happen?
All right. So there's actually the best way to get it. If you're an employee, the best way to get it into your organization is talk to your HR, or if you're a small organization, talk to your boss or one of the founders. It's in the C-suite. If you're a small company, 10 to 50 people, we are a perfect solution for those organizations. And typically you have a founder-led team, or, you can go right to the C-suite. I would talk to them or talk to HR. You could start participating in ShopRaise on your own as an individual. But you definitely want to go, if you want your company to, we have all the materials for you. If you want, you can contact us. We can provide you with some materials so you have something that you can show to your HR leader or to your, one of your executives, or to your direct report manager, because this is a great program for almost any organization.
I have a question in chat. And you may have covered this question, but maybe get some clarity. Are companies able to see what organizations employees donate to?
Absolutely. So if you choose as a company to allow your employees to donate to any organization they want, there's a report where you can see how many organizations your employees are supporting, how many employees those organizations are being supported, or how many employees are supporting each organization, and of course, how much contribution is going to those organizations as well. So we have an entire suite of reports that gives you the insight that you need in order to optimize your program.
So another question, you obviously mentioned that these individuals in these organizations have the ability to pick, obviously, anywhere from a small variety to a wide variety of organizations. What if this business has an organization that they support corporately, and they want to get many of their employees to support the organization. How would that work?
Well, there's actually two ways. You could just limit your participation and say everybody's got to support one, or actually the best way would be to have to use our sponsored cause feature. And what that means is that you as an organization can say this is a cause that we're sponsoring and we're encouraging people to support it. And that goes on to your customized landing page. So when every employee, signs up, they'll see your sponsored cause and you can encourage them to support it. Another way you can actually encourage people to participate, especially for your sponsored cause, would be to do matching. So since you're able to see how much money people are donating, you can encourage if they choose your sponsored cause, you can encourage to actually match that amount and make a direct donation to that organization. And you can do that for any organization that you want. That's up to you. But it's a great way if you want to go above and beyond to be able to encourage people to participate, but also encourage people to support the cause that the organization wants to support.
So obviously, there's a question I think was partially answered already, but the- obviously, this is a good team building exercise. So you have some examples or some practical ways that this can be used to not only help these causes, but get the team in a cohesive fashion.
Yeah, absolutely. We do actually have what we call our group tracking feature, which allows you to do basically two things. Number one is you can organize yourself as teams. Maybe it's on departments, or if you have particular groups within your organization, you can do that. You can set up competitions. And it's a very simple feature, which is super flexible. All it does is just aggregate the transactions and the funds raised by that group. So we've had people who have used it for, like I said, mini competitions, or maybe you each trying to raise as much money as you can. You can also use those groups for different focuses. So if you want to, you can actually decide that you want a portion of your funds to actually go to a particular sub organization or portion or dedicated to a particular type of nonprofit. So that group tracking feature gives you a lot of great flexibility to not only encourage people, kind of create some competition, but also we also have a shout out feature as well. So that way, what you're able to do is shout out organizations and individuals that you want to highlight. We provide the materials. You can use your own communication channels. And if you want to recognize individual people, you can do that as well.
Yeah, because I've noticed, I've been involved in a lot of charitable organizations, and like hospitals will put on runs and build teams, to run and do fundraising based on how much they walk or how much they do some of their activities. So I would imagine this could be used in a similar fashion, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. And especially if you have teams like, for example, there are a lot of companies that actually will participate in things like runs. And that is a great way to focus everybody for that, month and a half time frame when they're doing it. But then also what ShopRaise can do is actually extend that support out throughout the rest of the year. Which is really fantastic. So even though that event might be over, you can continue that team building and that cultural connection, again throughout the rest of the season.
So Sean, can you maybe share some examples of, organizations that have, benefited from this program, or even the nonprofits that have participated in this?
Yeah, absolutely. ShopRaise has worked with thousands of organizations and nonprofits that have used, the ShopRaise program across, again, across all the spectrums. Like right now, almost every single day, we get a new nonprofit signing up for our program, wanting to use, shopping to support their cause. And the metrics that I showed you earlier were actual metrics from our organization. Actually, I don't think I have the slide. I apologize. But we're looking at things like, oh, actually, I do. It's right here. We're looking at things, about 4 interactions per week, per user, again, which is that primary metric that all organizations are looking for. And we also have a very, very high participation rate, between 35 up to 70%. Some smaller organizations, we even get 100%, but we're talking organizations, 25, to 50 employees. So, ShopRaise is, again, a great program for almost any company that's out there. We can work with very large companies that have tens of thousands of employees. Now, I have to admit, we don't have one of those yet, but if you are one, definitely contact me. We'll make sure you have an amazing experience, like we do everybody. But we also work down to the very, very small teams. And even down to the 5, 10 employees. And that's where, a lot of programs and organizations just won't touch because you're too small. But a lot of these are, basically foundational blocks of the community. Those are the places where the local sports teams, the local schools go to ask for a little bit of funds. And ShopRaise is great for building up that kind of, a group of funds that you can then donate out to those types of organizations. So we work with basically everybody.
But yeah, you would obviously find that some of these small organizations don't have the budget to offer a traditional suite of benefits. So this gives them an opportunity to provide a benefit at no cost and really, like you said, maintain, some retention and some community around the fellow employees. One quick last question from a practical standpoint. So I download the app and I go to the store. What do I
Mhm.
do? Do I tap the app? Walk me through a transaction. I've downloaded the app. I've got all these providers that I go to, and I physically walk into, let's say, Home Depot.
Yeah,
Walk me through how this
absolutely.
transaction looks.
Sure. So if you're online at home, our browser extension automatically appears. And basically what it is, it's a little pop-up. It has the logo of the cause. It has your company information on it, and it just asks you if you want to participate. Click here, and a portion goes to your cause. We also have a gift card program where, we have over 300 different gift cards. And if a gift card's available, you can actually purchase that gift card. It just takes a few seconds, and you can use that to pay for your cause. Now, on the mobile app, it's a little bit different. We have a couple ways. You can obviously open up the mobile app and shop from there. We're just rolling out our mobile browser extension, which will do the same thing as the desktop. That'll work on iOS. We also have a geo alert feature where, again, if you want to, you will let you know when you're in a physical participating store. And when you're in a participating store like Home Depot, for example, you just go through and pick the items that you want, throw it in your cart, just keep a tally in your head. You can actually buy the gift card. It's delivered instantaneously, and that way you can use it to pay at your checkout. And it's a really, really easy way just to participate. Now, the hardest part for everybody is to remember how to do it and remember when to do it. And so that's why we have all these automated reminders. So it's not just downloading the app. The app is the gateway, that one action that the employee does, and then our reminders basically take over. So when you have an opportunity, we let you know, and then it's up to you as an employee just to take that one little extra click, in order to participate.
Fantastic. Sean, any final thoughts or quotes you want to put out there for everyone listening?
Well, I think there's a lot of there's a lot of changes happening in this industry. Now, when we look at it, we see the rising in benefit costs, but we also see the great pressure to provide more culture, more engagement, and more giving, because we know companies want to not only look like they're good corporate citizens, but actually be good corporate citizens. And ShopRaise is an amazing way to be able to do that. There's a lot of turmoil happening right now. A lot of companies are a little bit too expensive, a little bit harder to maintain, and we're frankly the easiest and most affordable way to get started.
Fantastic. Well, Sean, thanks for joining us today, and thank you everyone for listening in. As I mentioned, I'll be sending the recording and a copy of this presentation to everybody else, and I encourage you to take advantage of the program. And again, thank you all for joining us today.
All right, thanks a lot.